The new defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Vic Fangio, just stole the Denver Broncos' up-and-coming superstar coach, Christian Parker. I have a theory as to why that might be. Why did Christian Parker leave the Denver Broncos for a very similar lateral position? Why did he not just stick it out and wait to one day be a defensive coordinator himself? If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I break down all things Denver sports. It helps me out a lot if you would like and subscribe. So let's look at the news of the day, why I think this maybe happened. So the big news of the day is we've done videos on the fact that Christian Parker, who's in his really early 30s, 31, 32 years old, had been a quality control coach for the Green Bay Packers, has jumped around the college ranks and the NFL ranks, and was truly coaching the Denver Broncos' best position group. You can argue that even in our 5-game winning streak, that this position group was as good as even our defense the year we beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. That you could say that Simmons and Jaquan McMillian, being an undrafted dude, and Pat Surtain got better output as a secondary than even we had with Chris Harris and Darian Stewart and Aqib Talib. Like, you could make the argument. I'm not saying I necessarily believe it, but this was our position group that I never was worried about. Like, when all those dudes were healthy, Christian Parker had them humming and they looked great. And so now we come into another season where those guys might be coming back, all of them coming back. And you wonder, like, why would you leave to go with Vic Fangio, who doesn't connect with players as well as Vance, who's kind of an old school dude, who's had some bad baggage with our team and now just getting booted off of the Miami Dolphins. So why would he leave? And one of my theories is that all this comes down to Bill Belichick, but not in a way that he screwed us, but in a way that, is Bill Belichick going to be the defensive consultant for the Denver Broncos? Now, hear me out. Bill Belichick was a finalist for a bunch of positions. He interviewed 2 times with the Atlanta Falcons. It came out that he had a power struggle at the end of the day with the owner of the Falcons, and so he did not accept the job to coach the Atlanta Falcons. And so now the question becomes, what is Bill Belichick going to do? Is he going to sit around for a year and try for another position? Maybe he hopes that the Dallas Cowboys position opens next year. Maybe he sits around and hopes that the Bears flame out and Eberflus is kicked out and he can step in and coach a young Caleb Williams. Maybe that's possible. I think Bill Belichick in his 70s, we see how he is in his hoodie and his grumpiness. I do not see this as being a tangible option whatsoever for Bill Belichick. He is not going to sit out a year and walk away from football. The next thing, and this is the one that I think is most interesting, and the thing that if this happens, I could see this being with the Denver Broncos. The next possibility is that he takes a job as a consultant. This is something that happens quite often in the NBA, where a coach would go and consult. And most recently, this happened the year the Philadelphia Eagles actually went to the Super Bowl, and the defensive consultant of that time was actually Vic Fangio, who then went and became the defensive coordinator the following year with the Miami Dolphins. So the rumor from a lot of people is that he's not going to sit out a year. The second option, and the option that I think is the leader in the clubhouse, is that Bill Belichick will go and be a defensive consultant. It's a step down, but it's also a step back from that pressure. You still get to have power and control, and you look here and you heard all the rumors when we were 1-5 that Sean Payton wasn't happy with Vance Joseph and that he was going to hire Rex Ryan or something like that mid-year. We heard that rumor. Is this a way that Sean Payton is able to bring in a guy to oversee our defense and be a consultant? And the amazing thing about having the richest owner in all of the NFL with the Walton Penner Walmart money group is that there is no salary cap. We've already seen them go out and hire one of Sean Payton's friends and not kick somebody else out, create a brand new class of coach, which is what we did with the offensive position. Did the exact same thing with a scout. We didn't fire someone else. We just created a brand new position for them. And I wonder if this is exactly what is going to happen this year for Bill Belichick. So the third idea would be that he goes and does one of those studio shows, or he does play-by-play or something like that. I just don't think, at 71 years old, he wants to be up at 3 a.m. to do a pregame show and fly in and get makeup done and all of that. I just can't really picture that happening either. So I think the big thing that's going to happen is that Bill Belichick is going to be a defensive consultant somewhere. And why would that not be at a team that has the richest owner in sports, a team that he's going to get to step in and devise systems for Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, if we hang on to him like that. That's a great group. You look at our edge rushers now. When Barrett Browning was healthy, right, he missed a bunch of those games that we lost. And when he was back, our pass rush with him and Benito and Cooper looked super solid. So will Bill Belichick be our consultant? Now that would be what kind of explains why he would do this. So one of the really puzzling things about all of this is that typically you do not jump ship for a lateral position unless there's like really big chemistry issues or there's infighting or you don't get along with the head coach, you don't get along with the defensive coordinator. And everything we hear out of Dove Valley is that everyone loved Christian Parker, and Christian Parker loved the Broncos coaching staff. Vance Joseph raved about him, yet Andrew Mace came out and said it is very puzzling that Christian Parker would leave to just be a defensive back coach in another place. He was a finalist to be defensive coordinator at the Patriots and defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Both of them went elsewhere with that position. And so why would he do this? I think he does this because he sees that if Bill Belichick comes in and is this defensive consultant role, and then you have Vance Joseph being the defensive coordinator, and then you're third down the list, like, does that make your name rise up? All of a sudden, we come out and we ball out of control defensively. Does any of that credit go to Christian Parker, or is all that credit going to go to Bill Belichick and Vance Joseph? And so I think it is very, very plausible that he saw the future and saw that, hey, I'm going to get overshadowed here because the Denver Broncos have a bottomless bag of money, and Bill Belichick is not going to want to be a TV analyst. He's not going to sit out a year, so he's going to go do exactly what Vic Fangio did. He's going to be a defensive consultant somewhere, and he's going to go to the place with the most money. That's a leader in the clubhouse for me as far as why he would do that. The other reason he might do that is we hear the two biggest offseason rumors right now is that Pat Surtain, our unbelievable cornerback, a cornerback that multiple people at the Pro Bowl said is the best at his position. So dudes who are at the Pro Bowl said, yeah, that guy's better than us. He has been rumored in a ton of trade talk that the Denver Broncos are going to package him and a pick and try to move up for Caleb Williams. So does he see, hey, my star corner is on the way out? And then the other thing is looking at right now the Denver Broncos being $23 million over the cap, and one of the, again, rumored moves is that we move on from Justin Simmons. So does he look at his two favorite players, his two favorite standouts, and say, hey, I don't want to coach this squad if I lose Simmons and I lose Surtain? And so I think one of those situations is probably the reason that he decided to jump ship and go coach for Vic Fangio. Either Bill Belichick is going to come in and soak up all the glory for a job well done for this defensive squad, which means he's not going to get that defensive coordinator job that he's been interviewing for. That's kind of hypothetical scenario number one he left. Hypothetical scenario number 2 and 3 is that his best players might be on the move. So very interesting to see how that plays out. We'll know for sure by the time the season kicks, is Bill Belichick going to be sitting in a box and, being the defensive consultant and telling us how to run and how to get the most out of this defense? That could happen. Or is something going to happen with Surtain or Justin Simmons? So as we look at who is going to be the heir apparent to Christian Parker, absolutely loved having him. It's a huge loss for us. I also think it is ultimately a good thing for an organization to have talent in the coaching ranks that other teams in the league aspire to. I've worked in a ton of organizations that have had different leaders get poached by other organizations. And while it's a huge loss for you, you do feel a sense of like, all right, well, we're onto something. We're doing something well here. The fact that other people want him shows that we are an industry leader. So I do think this is good for the Denver Broncos that he had defensive coordinator interviews at 2 places. And then Vic Fangio wanted him so bad that he said, hey, I was with this guy in Denver and I want him here in Philly. Let's pay him. So the question becomes, who steps in for him? My prediction would be if we do not go outside of our current coaching rank, the person who I think makes the most sense to step in for him is our quality control coach, Addison Lynch. who works mostly with the secondary. He's been in a ton of places in the league. He's been with the Chargers. He's been with the Chargers in 2018, and he was a former safety himself. So that is the person I think who makes the most sense to step in for Christian Parker. Is he doing it under Vic Fangio or under Vance Joseph, or is he doing it under Bill Belichick under Vance Joseph? All of that, I cannot wait to see what happens with all that. I hope you all are subscribed to this channel so you don't miss a second of the news, because here in Broncos country, we always giddy up.